My outgoing, high-energy, fun-loving son Mikey, whom we'd had adopted from the foster care system a few years before, was thoroughly enjoying preschool and had wonderful teachers and friends. And then everything got turned upside down. One day, we got notification that he would be attending school virtually and that we would have to quarantine due to COVID. All of a sudden, he was separated from his friends, and he could only see his teacher a few days a week if she could figure out the Zoom platform. The situation was excruciating for everyone involved. One day, Mikey got so frustrated, he threw his monster truck at the computer screen, breaking it. He had turned into an angry child I did not even recognize. I knew this situation was especially difficult for children since they could not understand what was going on. I knew Mikey was not the only one that was having a hard time during this pandemic. I teach online university courses, and I was speaking with students who were getting let go from their jobs, some who were working extended hours, and others who even had COVID. I tried to be as understanding and supportive as I could. I decided my family and I would go through this situation with a performance mindset, finding ways to make connections and create opportunities despite these unprecedented times. I'm going to share with you some ways in which I was able to thrive and make a difference during this pandemic with my board service. I sit on a board of a nonprofit called TIAS Arms. We assist children affected by HIV and AIDS in South Africa. When the pandemic hit, we realized we would have to take our fundraisers online. Through this mode, we ended up raising more than we had been before. The internet was crucial in staying connected since we could not see each other face to face. I had not gotten an opportunity to meet our grantees in person, but now that we were holding our fundraisers virtually, we could include them, and I got to hear their stories. They were heartbreaking and made me want to do even more than I had been doing for them before. Other stories warmed my heart and made me intrigued by their culture. With the performance mindset at top of mind, I was thinking of ways in which we could propel our nonprofit forward. We decided to form an advocacy committee. We began reaching out to local representatives and finding ways we could partner in advocacy efforts. While brainstorming before one of the meetings, we came up with the idea for a virtual pen pal program. When we brought up the idea to a sweet lady from California Congressmember Mike Levin's office, she loved it and encouraged us to move forward. Several meetings ensued. I sit on the board of the Capistrano Unified School District Cultural Proficiency Task Force. One of the goals of this task force is to find ways to make the district more equitable and for our students to become more culturally competent. One of the best ways to become more understanding of people from other cultures is to get to know them. During one of the meetings, one of the moms was distraught because her son was spending extended time behind the computer learning online. She was worried about the long-term effects this would have on his mental health. I was hearing horror stories about the pandemic significantly impacting students' mental health, sometimes even leading to suicide. This made me think that perhaps connecting with individuals from other cultures might alleviate some of those feelings of disconnectedness and fulfill some of the goals of the Cultural Proficiency Task Force. I reached out to my contact through the district and asked if she would be willing to talk to the middle school teachers and see if any of them would be interested in my Pen Pal program. When she spoke with them, they were all on board. and we decided to move forward. I remember watching in horror on January 6th as people stormed the US Capitol. We just happened to have a pen pal meeting that day, and speaking of it brought us hope. I had even heard on the news that Representative Levin, whose office we were corresponding with, was sheltering in the Capitol complex. Speaking of the pen pal program, on that dark day gave us hope. I finally had a grantee and a middle school class ready to correspond. I dove in and connected the two. At the time, I had doubts in my mind about whether or not this would work. I heard a quote that went, "It is better to have tried and failed than to not have tried at all." And this brought me hope. Videos of the middle school students started coming in, and you could tell they were interested in what they all had to say, and they wanted to get the most out of the program. The founder of TS Arms watched the videos of the children from Africa, and she had known them since they were young and could share stories and their history. There was one gentleman who shared his love of riding horses, and she shared that this was for a therapy program he was involved with. It was insightful to hear this because there are so many people where I live that own horses, which is a distinct difference between the two groups that were corresponding. When the videos from the middle school students came in, I knew they were good kids, trying their best, wanting to get the most out of this correspondence. At the time, I had just joined my Delta Gamma sorority alumna book club, and the leader of the group serendipitously chose a book called I Will Always Write Back, a true story about a young woman, Caitlin, from the United States, and a young man, Martin, from Africa, who were connected and forever changed through a pen pal program. Through the correspondence, Caitlin went from being a superficial teen to a philanthropic-minded, empathetic, deeply caring young woman. Martin went from being destitute in Zimbabwe to a successful businessman and philanthropist in the United States. This was all because of the deep caring and generosity of a young woman, her family, and a great deal of hard work. It just so happened that the middle schoolers in our district had read the book the year before. I decided to reach out to Martin, and he connected me with the founder of a nonprofit that TS Arms had helped a few years before. This made me realize what a small world this is and how we are all connected in the most interesting ways. I am unsure about how this pen pal program will end up, especially with the dire state in South Africa. But planning it has been a real adventure. So these are some ways in which I was able to thrive and give back during the pandemic. And heck, with what we went through, I now have all of this material for the TED Talk. So next time you are unsure about reaching out to someone or starting a new project, go ahead and do it. Life is richer when we make new connections and embark on new opportunities. Thank you.